I, male 18, was told earlier today that I need to pack up and leave by the end of the week. I still feel in shock. I was removed from my biological family when I was 7 due to issues with my parents. I was then placed in foster care and then matched with a couple who I will call the Peters. It's not their real name. No matter how much I actually want to blast their real info, I won't. The Peters were always really nice to me, and since I moved in when I was pretty young, after a while, I started to consider them my parents. I called them Mum and Dad, treated them as my parents, treated their biological son as my brother. I wasn't their only foster child. They also have a 9-year-old boy who has lived with us for a little over a year. I was never adopted by them. I know why, because they live off the fostering allowance. Something that never really bothered me. They told me that it didn't matter and that legality didn't make us a family, which I believed. I went on their agency website earlier today and I found out that they're getting paid at least £2,400 for me per month. Or at least they were. Since I turned 18, they stopped getting the allowance. However, they applied for a staying put arrangement for me, which meant they would continue getting paid something as they continued to support me and let me live with them. It wasn't as much, I think it was like £1,000 per month. They told me they had it approved until I was 21, so I thought I'd be able to stay at least until I finished uni. They sat me down today and told me I had to leave. They told me that fostering is a business and that they couldn't afford to keep me on just the stay-put arrangement allowance. They told me I had until the end of the week. 4 days. How generous of them. They said they need my room because they want to get a new foster placement. They literally told me it's not personal. Like that makes me feel any freaking better. They said they would still consider me like a son, not their son anymore. Like a son, and that they want to keep in touch. What a joke. They choose to kick me out. An 18-year-old with no job, no income, no nothing, about to start university. Yet their bio son, who is 25, gets to stay? So yeah, I guess frick me, right? I'm just the one no one ever wanted. I guess I wasn't ever truly part of their family. Now for some relevant comments. Jen in Miami, I'm so sorry. If it makes you feel any better, many parents kick their biological kids out once they turn 18 too. OP responding to Jen in Miami. It doesn't really, if I'm honest, Po boy from Po family. They're doing it for the money. That is why. It's unfortunate and they sound horrid. I'm sorry, OP. I hope it all works out for you. Leaving will suck, but at least you won't be surrounded by greedy leeches. OP responding to Po boy from Pomely. I thought they were my family. I'm genuinely considering going no contact with them after I'm set up, whatever I'll end up next week. Cucky94 responding to OP. You absolutely should. You were 7 when you went into their care. They denied you the opportunity to find a real family who love you for you and not the dollars you brought in. Frick them. You deserve better. OP responding to Cucky94. I doubt anyone would have adopted me. I wasn't a great kid, in truth had more issues than a hospital piss pot. I wasn't a great kid in any sense, but I changed. Genuinely, I changed. I can't help but wonder if this is because of how I was as a young child. Now for the mini update. Okay, thank you guys for all your advice. Honestly, I was in a state of shock yesterday. Maybe still am today. I wasn't thinking straight. I only slept 2 hours last night, that's all, so I'm probably a little delirious today as well. Firstly, I have contacted my personal advisor. He'll having an emergency meeting with me at 1:30, so I'll have more details about what's going to happen to me then. He'll hopefully be able to sort out emergency accommodation for me. Secondly, to those of you saying the Peters can't legally just give me 4 days notice to leave, I will definitely be mentioning this to my PA and get his advice on it. I don't want to stay here any longer than I need to, because since they told me it's like I don't exist, they just look right through me. But I'm not going to move out until I have safe accommodation for me. I will outright refuse. I am not going to be made homeless. Thirdly, those of you saying contact my uni, I have an offer from them, but it's only conditional if I get my predicted A levels. Hopefully I will, but since I'm not technically a student yet, I don't know if they will actually provide any support yet. Finally, I am also going to ensure that the staying put allowance stops. I will tell my PA today that it should surely be stopped if I'm not living with them. Luckily, I have some money saved. Some people here have said I should be entitled to a bursary when I start uni, and I'll have my maintenance student loan to help me. I've already started looking for a job. Now for a few relevant comments. Snaggle34. Good luck. I'd cut all ties with them. They are not good people. Celebration Main 8329. Good luck, OP. I am here rooting for none. Now for the next update. Okay, hi everyone. I just got home and am feeling incredibly tired, so this is just going to be a short update. Basically, I had a big, long meeting with my PA, and he was very sympathetic and felt upset that the Peters are treating me this way. We had one meeting, and then I went to get food while he spoke to the Peters directly. And then I came back to meet him again to let me know everything that has happened. He's putting me on the list for social housing. I am hopeful that it will not be long until I am able to get my own house. I recorded the meeting because I'm so sleep deprived, and also I have really bad memory processing for long things like that because of my dyslexia/autism or something. I'm not sure. I can listen to it again tomorrow after I've slept, but from what I gather, they will help me with paying for rent costs. I will also get some money to help pay for furniture and things like that. When he spoke to the Peters, I don't know if he said they had to keep me housed for a while or ask them to I'm not sure. But they've agreed to keep housing me until the end of August, so at least I don't have to worry about everything happening in 3 days' times. He did tell me that if I feel uncomfortable, I can be moved into a youth hostel place while they wait for a property to be available for me. But I said if I can, I would rather stay with the Peters until I am ready to move, even if it makes me feel a little uncomfortable. He told me they will continue getting paid the staying put allowance until the day I officially move out, and then it will be stopped. On a completely separate note, my best friend and I had a huge argument earlier. He said that I'm being ungrateful, and honestly, what he said really hurt me. We had a huge argument. I just thought out of everyone he would get me and understand what I was going through. Maybe not. Maybe I'm being unreasonable. I am really tired, so maybe my emotions are just not being controlled well at the moment. I am going to talk to him tomorrow after I've slept, and I'm hoping this argument will just blow over because I need him at the moment. I don't feel like I have anyone else. Oh, and I haven't read all comments because I didn't expect to get so many. Thank you everyone who has offered support. It is genuinely so sweet, and I am so thankful. Now for a fefew comments. Janae820. Glad things are working out. Don't worry about your friend. Right now you are in survival mode, trying to make sure you aren't on the streets. Hope everything keeps working out for you. Candid Spot 500115 responding to Janae820. He said I should be grateful that they kept me that long anyway. Like the frick, I'm not a pet. He also said some other things, like how it's good that they're going to help another child, like I was, which is true, and I get that it's a good thing what they're doing to help people. But him saying those things make me feel like I'm being crazy for wanting to stay like I was promised by them. I'm too tired, and maybe I'm being irrational. I'm going to talk again with him tomorrow and say I'm sorry. It never bothered me that they were paid to keep me before. Genuinely never bothered me at all. I always knew I was a foster child. I was about 15 when I learned that they were paid money to look after me. And I told myself it was a good thing. And it probably was. I got loving parents for 11 years, which is more than some people can say. I just didn't ever think they'd make me move out when the payment stopped being as high. I found out that when I was still a child, they were paid £111.82 per day for me. That's 40,804 tans per year. I had never felt different to the family. I had always felt loved and secure. I don't understand why they have changed their minds about me. None of them will even look at me in the eyes anymore, and it's gotten to the point where I can't leave my room anymore because all I feel is the absence of the love that used to be there. I didn't come down for any meal times, which was a rule that you had to before. If I didn't go down before, I wouldn't have gotten any food. But Mum brought it up to my room and knocked on the door to say she was going to leave it there for me. I've used that 100 times over and over again in my head to try and convince myself that they still love me. I called her by her first name when I came home yesterday. Not Mum, Claire. She looked upset when I did that, and a part of me is happy about that, and a part of me feels cruel for it. I knew it would hurt her, and I did it anyway. In some ways, I wish she wakes up to the pain she's causing me. I hope she takes it back and says that it is a lapse in judgment and that she loves me and wants me to stay. But if that were going to come, I think it would have already. I guess I'm not worth the 76 pounds per day they lose by not replacing me with another foster child. When I feel bad about hurting them, I remind myself they're kicking me out to get an extra 76 pounds a day. That's what I'm worth to them, 76 pounds per day. Now for a few important comments. Candid Spot 515. I don't expect anyone to read this or care, but I want to say thank you for the immense love you've all shown me. I feel nothing but gratitude to you all. My Bad Book. I'd like to think at least a part of the reason for their lack of eye contact and emotional withdrawal is due to their feelings of absolute embarrassment, guilt, and shame. That she seemed upset with being called her name, I feel, somewhat supports this. And they should feel this way. However, I really do hope they can put these feelings and their egos to the side and take steps to actively make amends and rebuild the relationship. I really am sorry this is happening, and I'm so very happy you had a secure and safe childhood. ETA, I follow you and read your posts because I really want you to be okay. You didn't deserve this. No child does, no matter their struggles. I've been thinking about you and putting all the good thoughts out there for you. Okay, I am going to try and condense this as much as possible. Basically, I, male 18, got removed from my bio family when I was 7. I got taken into foster care and was matched with a family called the Peters. I was then raised by the Peters for the remainder of my life, from 7 all the way until now. They had originally told me that I was able to live with them indefinitely, as I considered the Peters my family, and they applied for a staying put order with me, which basically means they continued to get paid something like £250 by the government to recognize that they're continuing to support a former foster child, me, after my 18th birthday. As I said before, I was always told by the Peters I could stay as long as I needed to set myself up in life. Their bio son, who I considered my brother, is 25 and still lives with them. He doesn't work, but did graduate university 2 years ago. I have a conditional offer at a local university which I'm studying classics with aims to become a teacher. I start in October, if I get my predicted A-levels, which I think I will, but the Peters told me that I had to leave by the end of the week because they wanted to get another foster child. This is something they really sprung on me, and it's been extremely difficult for me. I had to get in contact with my social worker, who spoke with the Peters, and now they're letting me stay until the end of August. But the whole family has changed. I explained all this to my best friend, and I said I was considering going no contact with them after I moved out. He ranted to me about how ungrateful I'm being to them, and how they raised me for 11 years, and now they want to give that to another child in a position like I was. I get that, and that's part of the reason why I feel so guilty. My friend isn't speaking to me now, calling me selfish for wanting to stay with the Peters like I was promised. And for them trying to get rid of me with 4 days' notice. There were plans they could have taken to transition me into independent living before I turned 18, and they chose not to take part in them because they told me I could always stay with them. The one time of my life I needed my friend, and he's gone too, and I feel so alone, and I can't understand why he's taking their side over mine. I understand the argument that they will continue to help another child, but at the same time, I just wish they didn't have to throw me out to do so. When I suggested to my friend they could have asked their bio son to move out instead of me, and he just said I'm being selfish. I still don't even know if I'm going to go no contact with them. I just said I felt like doing it, and I wish I didn't even say that, because I didn't expect it to cause such an argument. So, am I the idiot? Now for a few comments. Top Reveal 847. You poor kid. Your friend is an AH, and you're certainly not. Even if there is another kid waiting and desperately in need, they could have and should have at least let you plan ahead more than a few days in advance, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Are your foster parents at least helping you find a place? Edit to add that you should let someone at the university know. Aita how it's done where you are, but some universities have programs for stuff like this. War Dog 1983 YNTA. The Peters are using the fostering system to support themselves. They do not care about helping the kids. They say that to justify their callous treatment of you. They should not be foster parents. I'm sorry about your friend. His point of view is a betrayal because it is simply wrong. Now for a few comments. Scott's Wayhay. Dude, my cousin used to foster kids. She fostered 3 sisters and 1 other girl. I used the words used to because she adopted them as she wasn't in it for the money. Candid Spot 5D115 OP. Responding to Scott's Wayhay. I don't really even care that they were looking after me and getting money for it. It doesn't bother me. I never knew how much they were getting to look after me, but I did know they were being paid. It does make me hurt and betrayed that they're kicking me out for a difference of 70-something pounds a day. The Peters' son, Jamie, has found my original Reddit post. I guess I should have been more careful with the details, but my mind was so frantic at the point of writing it, I just couldn't think straight. I'm not sure how he found it, but considering it has almost 10K upvotes, and Jamie was the person who introduced me to Reddit, I guess it might have just popped up on his page? Does anyone know if it might have popped up to him because we're on the same network, in the same location? A few hours ago, Jamie came to my room. He showed me the original post and asked if I had written it. At first, I tried to deny it, but I'm an awful liar, so he just knew. He asked why I didn't tell him about this, and I said I thought he knew. He told me he had no idea and would not have supported his parents throwing me out if he did. He was told I requested to move out. He genuinely seemed shocked and appalled at the details in the post. Against my wishes, he shared the posts in the family group chat. He did this out of a place of wanting to defend me. Mom, Dad, I really think you should read this and see the impact this is having on, but I really wish he didn't do it. They've both read the message, but neither have responded. I have not left my room since. I'm really anxious right now, like I'm at the level before a panic attack. I can feel one coming on. Now for a few comments. Polly619. Stay calm and know that you did nothing wrong. They may try to gaslight you. They may lie to your brother. They don't have a good track record for being decent people. But no matter what they do, remember, you did nothing wrong. They cannot throw you out because of it. They have learned their lesson on that. I'm glad to know your brother didn't agree with their horrible decision, and I'm glad that he found out. Him not looking you in the eye these past couple of days may have had something to do with the tension already in the air and him thinking you just up and wanted to leave. I hope it turns out that they realize their mistakes and apologize profusely. But brace yourself for that not happening and that they may get upset with you for airing dirty laundry. They may end up trying to guilt you and blame everything on you. They may do nothing. Please remember, no matter what they say and no matter what your ex-best friend said, you did nothing wrong. Your feelings are valid. You deserve love. You did not deserve what they did to you. Afternoon agitated 803. Calm and breathe. Sounds like he's being a big brother and sticking up for you because for him, you're his sister and he loves you. So talk to him more. Lean on him more. He's an adult. He can handle it. The moving out. The Peters could have really dealt with this in such a better way. They could have talked to you about now that you're an adult and soon going to university, we'll go and talk to your caseworker about finding you your own place to live. And we'll be able to help another little kid just like you when you came here. But you've got to come round for Sunday dinner. Or something like that. They handled this so badly, saying yes you can stay till 21, then telling you exactly the money they receive, and then telling you to get out by the end of the week. Where did they expect you to go? Do the foster parents not work at all? Or are the children their only job? And although he's being a good brother to you right now, if he finished uni 2 years ago, why isn't he working or getting training or something? 2 years of not putting his degree to use will show those in whatever field he did the degree in that he has no work ethic at all. I've just tonight been reading through all your posts, and I completely understand why you're thinking of going low contact with foster parents. They've handled it really, really badly. Next time you see your caseworker, ask them, do foster parents not get training or anything on how to handle this situation of when a child is reaching 18? Tell the caseworker you want notes or something put on their file of how badly they have handled this, so that any future foster kids they look after, their file shows this is what they do when the money drops down, so that a future caseworker can put the child's needs first and they don't go through what you went through. With your friend, he's being a bit of an AH. I'm guessing by the language used, he has the privilege of living with his birth parents his whole life and is in no danger of being told he has to get out in 5 days. He is not acknowledging he's in a position of privilege in this situation. I'd message him and say, these last few days have been crazy. And although you wouldn't know what it feels like to be in this position, I was just looking for a friend to listen. It's been a stressful and upsetting few days, and I don't want to fall out with you. Just suggest something you usually do together if you play a computer game or just hang out. End it with, do you want to play comp hangout tomorrow? And leave it at that and see what they say. Fairy Rebels Wild. To the Peters. From OP's posts, it sounds like you had a genuine relationship with him, or at least he felt you did. It's good that you were able to provide a stable family life for him. Considering that you had originally told OP he could stay, and you had applied for him staying put, I'm going to assume that somehow your circumstances changed. That sucks. But you handled this in the worst way possible. You should have approached OP in a collaborative manner, explaining the situation. Phrased it as not being able to support him anymore, rather than fostering being a business. Explored if him getting a job and financially contributing would have helped. Actually help him connect with his PA for those transitional services and with their advice, making a realistic move-out date. Everything you did was wrong. Saying fostering is a business taints every family interaction or affection as fake and transactional. I dare say pretending to be his family is worse than if you had kept it businesslike from the beginning. Verbal 4 days notice is actually heartless. How cruel and frankly, unrealistic, especially as you knew, being the ones to have originally allowed him to stay, that he wasn't applied to the transitional services yet. You can't expect him to continue treating you as family while you treat him as a former business colleague. Again, heartless and unrealistic. I hope you learn to be more empathetic to your future foster kids, or at least be honest to them about your intentions from the beginning. To Matt and Claire, I came to you as a 7-year-old, who had never felt love or affection or anything remotely nice. I was taught at a young age to fear those in authority, to fear the sudden changes in the moods of my birth parents. I was taught to bottle up my emotions and my pain and never show it. When I first came to you, my life was ruled by fear and anxiety. I know my behaviors back then were awful, were a struggle to manage. I had been taught there were no consequences for some actions, and firm, scary, and hard consequences for others. The worst part was that those actions never seemed to be consistent. I could do something one day and be praised by my birth family, and another day I would be beaten. Love was not something given, it was something earned. It was conditional and shallow. You both showed me another way. You showed me love and affection, and at first it felt confusing and hard to comprehend. I couldn't see myself as anything more than a nuisance. I couldn't see why someone would love me. I couldn't understand why you weren't beating me. Do you remember me telling you, you can hit me if I be naughty, I won't mind? Slowly you taught me to trust and love myself and those around me. You showed me that no matter what I did, you wouldn't give up on me. You wouldn't send me away or hate me. And I really tried to make you. I know that. I was scared. You made me realize that it wasn't my own fault I was in care, and that I wasn't to blame for the things that happened to my birth family. You showed me appropriate outlets for my fears. You showed me love, compassion, and kindness. The first day I remember feeling truly safe was when I was sitting in your arms at 8 years old watching Shrek. I still think back to that moment. It probably just felt like another day to you, but to me, it is a core memory in my life. It's a moment that shapes the way I see myself. You sat up with me when I was worried about moving up to secondary school. You comforted me when my birth mom told me she no longer wanted to be part of my life. You were there when XX broke up with me when I was 15 years old, and I felt like my whole world was ending again. You encouraged me to go beyond with my studies and apply to university. The most important thing you showed me was that I was worthy of being loved and respected. You never gave up on me. I am who I am today because of what you did. I look at myself and I see compassion and care and kindness, and in those traits, I see you. You weren't my birth family, but you were my family. My only family. I don't know what changed. Why has there been a switch? Why have you gone from the loving and caring parents you were? When I leave my room now, I no longer feel that love and kindness that brought me out of the pits of despair as a child. It's almost as if you have completely altered the way you see me, and I just can't understand why. A few days ago, you told me I had to move out. You gave me 4 days' notice to leave my family. You sent me back into feeling like that child at 7 years old. I'm not saying this to guilt you or to ask you to let me stay. That has passed now, and unfortunately, I don't think I'll ever be able to see you the same way again. I understand if you were hard on money or if you wanted to help another child like me, but why not talk to me? Why spring it on me and then act like I don't matter? Why tell me it's just business? Did you think that would make it hurt less? Since you told me, my whole life has been turned upside down, and I don't know how I will make it to the other side. If I had felt like this a few weeks ago, do you know who I would have gone to? I would have gone to you. I would have told you my worries and my fears, and you would have said the exact right thing, and then we'd sit together and watch some awful TV show. And now, I have no one again. I feel like I'm being told, for the second time in my life, that I don't deserve a family, and this time, I have no one to pick me up off the edge. That was always you, Mom and Dad. It was always you I could rely on. Why are you giving up on me now? Now for a few comments. When OP was asked how they were feeling, they said, "I really feel like today, the whole thing has just hit me in the face again. I think the emotions I was feeling were being blocked, and today they've been let out, and I've done nothing but cry all day." Then another commenter suggested, "Send it to them. Let them know how you feel, how they hurt you, and that they cannot expect you to ever contact them again after you leave. They need to know how you feel. Send it to them, and if you want to, leave the GC, because they may try to justify their actions, and you don't need to hear it." OP responded, "The sad thing is, I don't think I even want that. I want them to love me again." Now for the update. I've contacted my PA, and I'm moving out today. My PA is allowing me to store my things I can't take with me in his garage. It's kind of him. He's found me a place at a local hostel. I'll get my own room apparently, which was a big deciding factor on if I wanted to move in or not. The hostel works with the LA and houses a lot of care leavers while they wait for their own houses. I haven't sent the message yet, but I know my foster brother Jamie has seen it. Yesterday, I felt overwhelming emotions. Today, I feel none. I don't know which is better. I'll send it once I'm moved out. I have a room, so I'll be gone in a few hours. I still haven't spoken to them, but I just can't face it anymore. I am sick of being anxious and stressed about this. I guess they did get their 4-day notice after all. Edit. I have just left the Peters house for the last time. The room is ready for me at the hostel. I feel so weird and sad and lonely right now. I've ordered myself a pizza to have for dinner today, and my PA even paid for it. I just want to get in bed and cry. My head is spinning thinking about everything I need to do. Wish me luck, everyone. Edit. I want to clarify something. I was hurt and in shock when I wrote my first post, but I want to make it understood that I was never eligible to be adopted. At first, the end goal for me was to reintegrate me into my birth family. By the time we knew that was never going to happen, I wouldn't have accepted adoption as I wanted to keep my legal ties with my birth family. The Peters always told me it didn't matter that I didn't want to be adopted, and they loved me the same anyway. Maybe it wouldn't have changed anything, or maybe it would have. They were paid fortnightly for caring for me, and they would get £1,565.48. That's 40,702 pounds and 48 per year they got just to raise me, which is about $52,295.77. I keep thinking about that number. Was that all I was? I wonder what I would change if I could go back in time. Edit. I am settled in the hostel now. It's not exactly luxury, to say the least, but at least I'm here now. I sent the text message, very slightly altered from the one I wrote yesterday, and then I left the group chat. I also posted it on Facebook. That was probably the wrong thing to do. I don't know. Final update. This is going to be my final update on all of this. I want to put everything behind me. Claire rang me crying, saying she had no idea I felt like this. How? How could she not know? She said she was sorry and begged me to come back. God, how do I ruin everything? She was telling me all these things about how she regrets the past few days so much and wishes she could take it all back. I said this is not fair. She cannot throw me out and then call me crying. I said it's manipulative. She just kept saying sorry. She said she loves me and wants me to come home. Jesus, this is just a lie, right? She must have known. Am I the bad person here? I feel so confused I don't know what to do. I just hung up, and then she started texting me and I blocked her. But now I feel like I'm the bad person here. I'm so tired of this, of all of this. I want nothing to do with any of them. I don't think Reddit is good for me. I'm not sure any of this is good for me. I'm going to delete the app. Sorry, everyone. Now for a few comments. A commenter said, I've been following along with your updates as you post them, OP, and I want to tell you that I'm so sorry you're going through this, that you deserve better, and that you are so strong in a situation where you shouldn't have to be. I'm glad your PA is helping you, and I wish you nothing but success and happiness. Then OP replied, Thank you. I considered contacting my bio mom. Last time I spoke to her was when I was a young teen, but I think it might just be seeking out something to make myself feel more hurt, and I don't think I could deal with any more rejection. To bigger and better things. Another commenter said, I can't believe the Peters were too cowardly to even say anything to you. Will this whole situation make them ineligible for future placements? I would think there is a reporting structure, and your PA would be obligated to flag their file for this. Then OP replied, Doubt it. My PA didn't even seem shocked by the situation as a whole, and I think my parents have framed it as us falling out to their social worker. Despite me making it clear, that's not the case for my POV. Now for the next post. The Peters have a new foster boy living with them already. When I brought up my concerns about them potentially doing the same thing they did to me to another child, I was told they were going to be given extra guidance and support when children reach 17-18, and ensuring everyone is on the same page about staying put orders. That's it. Nothing else. Extra guidance. That's all. Extra guidance. Is that even a slap on the wrist? My PA told me that they were, unfortunately, within their rights to ask me to leave after I turned 18. I said about how they told me it was a business decision, and they told me that unfortunately financial does come into decisions like this. Is that all I am? A financial decision? Does this system seem fair to anyone? I feel like I'm losing my mind. There should be more of a punishment for them. I'm not saying they should be banned from fostering again. I don't know. I still feel all in a tizzy, my mind just going crazy. I keep saying I'm not going to add anything else to this account, but I genuinely have no one else to talk to about this. Jamie, as nice as he is, doesn't understand me. And my friend just doesn't get it at all. Now for the next post. Little update. It's been a little while since my last post. I'm not sure why I'm even posting now. I'm just feeling really depressed today, and I should be feeling happy. I want to get this out the way first. You may have noticed I deleted everything on here. That was intentional. I want to move on. I haven't had any contact with any of the Peters' family since Jamie and I had our argument. I don't want anyone to interact with Jamie if he posts more. He is just attention-seeking. If people have a copy of what Jamie wrote, I would appreciate it if you deleted them, didn't share them anywhere. The stuff he shared about me, it was just to hurt me. It was some of the most shameful things I ever did. So I can understand if you don't want to support me after you read what it. If you do feel that way, just know I'm really sorry for what I did as a child. It isn't who I am now, and it wasn't who I was then. I'm sorry if I hurt or mislead anyone. That wasn't my intention. The Peters have a new foster child already living with them. I mentioned this before, but when I said I wanted it on their record that they tried to kick me out with no notice, I was told they would be given extra guidance if they have a child living with them, start the process to aging out. I'm in two minds because honestly, I feel like that is just a slap on the wrist and thing else. But at least someone will be watching over them in the future when one of their other foster children gets to 18. I have some good news today. My PA got in contact with my first choice university, which is also the uni he went to, and he somehow got them to convert their conditional offer into an unconditional offer, which means no matter what grades I get from my A-levels, I get to study there. I don't even know how he managed to do it. I am so grateful for it. He's also got them to explain all the support I get as a care leaver, which is great. They're giving me free accommodation for the first year, which has released a huge stress for me because I had no clue how I was going to get to uni each morning, and they're going to lower the passing grade boundaries for me in my first year. Though I hope I won't need this. I want to be getting good grades. And they're giving me a starter pack of important things I will need for my first year. Even though all those good things are happening for me, I just don't feel happy. I'm trying not to show it, but I actually really worried about starting uni, and I used to have the Peters to help me, and Claire especially used to give me a lot of emotional support. I really feel like I'm missing part of myself. I feel stupid saying this, and you guys are probably going to tell me it's stupid, but I just went the other day and watched the Peters' house from afar. They didn't know I was there, but I could see into the living room window, and they were just acting normal, and the new foster child was there also. I literally sat there for a few hours just watching. I really want to go and speak to them, but I know it's a bad idea. I shouldn't want them back, but I do. I feel really isolated, which is probably why I've come back here to post. Am I the idiot for moving to another state with my kids after my ex-wife committed felony credit card fraud? Now for the original post. My wife and I got a divorce last year. Our relationship failed after she was charged with felony credit card fraud and ended up pleading guilty to a lesser charge. She had been a stay-at-home mom to our two sons, 5 and 3, and had taken credit cards out in my mom's name to pay for God knows what. She shattered my trust. I work full-time and make a decent living, but nothing extravagant. I had no clue what my wife was doing until cops showed up at my door with a warrant and took my wife away in cuffs and took 2 laptops as evidence. When I got the full story, I filed for divorce immediately. Aside from being a criminal, she was a good mom. She tried to justify what she did by saying she was just doing what was best for our kids, which I felt was total BS, given that she never mentioned wanting for anything. And anytime she asked to spend on something, I almost always said yes. I hired a good lawyer and asked for full custody of my kids. My ex begged me not to do that, saying she needed her kids, but she was still looking at up to a year in jail, and nothing her lawyer said could sway the judge to grant her anything more than supervised visitation. She ended up doing 90 days in jail, paying some fines and restitution, but I've allowed her to see our sons almost every time she's asked. The last year has been total hell, but we've made it work. A few months ago, I was offered a much more lucrative position a few states away. I talked with my lawyer about what it would mean if I moved and what the process was. He said that since I have full custody, I have to file a petition with the court to move. So I told my wife what I wanted to do, and she exploded. She claimed I was stealing her kids from her, that she's made a lot of strides to get herself to a better place, and that she would fight me tooth and nail for her kids. Well, I filed the petition, got the go-ahead from the courts, and accepted the job. When the judge gave his ruling, my wife burst into tears and began sobbing. It was heartbreaking. I know in my head that I'm doing the right thing for my sons. They are young enough that a move like this won't be too traumatic, but I also feel like their lives have already been completely overturned, and I'm just adding more to that. As for my wife, she's a wreck. She's been begging me to reconsider the move, trying everything from guilt trips, manipulation, bargaining. It's like she's going through the stages of grief. But from my point of view, she did this to herself. She lied and broke the law. I have very little sympathy for her. I know at some point she will probably try to file for partial custody, and I'm prepared for that. For now, I'm just trying to do what's best for me and my sons. Does that make me a jerk? Edit. Thank you to everyone who commented, even the ones who called me a heartless for taking my sons away from their mother. This post has given me a lot of perspective, and I appreciate that. A couple things I want to clear up that I keep getting asked about that I wasn't able to include in my original post. The area my sons and I live in is a smaller community. Not everyone knows everyone, small, but close. The crime my ex committed was news here. It was in the paper. People know about it. I get weird looks when I'm out in public. People have stopped inviting my sons to birthday parties. I don't want my sons to be bullied and teased in school about their mother being a criminal. I am not going to permanently alienate my sons from their mother. I will make sure they are able to talk and FaceTime with her whenever they want. I will be the one who makes the drive back in order for them to see her until she is able to make arrangements to allow her to do so. I will continue to work with my ex to make sure she is included in things like birthdays and holidays. I know my sons and I will all need therapy from this. There is not good mental health help available where my previous job is. My new job offers on-site childcare, and I will have access to counseling and therapy for myself and my sons that we would not have access to without moving. The schools near my new job are head and shoulders above the ones near my previous job. If my ex gets her life back on track and is able to move closer to us, I'm all for it. If she does the things she needs to do in order to petition for shared custody, I don't intend on fighting her for that. But until she does that, I will not allow her anything more than the supervised visits ruled by the court. I will also not ask for any of the court-ordered child support. We won't need it. To all the people who screamed, "But she's their mother," yes, and she always will be. And I remind my sons daily that their mom loves them very much and that she wishes she can be with them like before. I am angry and resentful of my wife, but I work very, very hard to not let any of those feelings impact my sons and their relationship with their mom. Now for a few important comments. Lots of comments from OP, so a quick explanation of what the ex did. She took out multiple credit cards in my mom's name after getting her SSN somehow. Racked up about $30,000 before she got caught. My mom alerted her credit card company when she saw a couple unauthorized credit checks from different credit companies, and then the authorities got involved. I had no clue. She apparently spent most of the money on clothes and toys for the kids, makeup and clothes for herself. But that's a shitload of toys and clothes, so I find it hard to believe. OP says the kids' credit is clean. She didn't just break the law, she broke my trust. She defrauded my own mother of $30, my elderly mother who lives on a fixed income. My mom has spent the last year putting her life back together after a person who she loved like her own daughter betrayed her. The amount of people dismissing my ex's actions without thinking of the consequences of what she did is staggering. My ex's crime might not have been violent or hurtful, but the wounds are still there and will take time to heal. The whole, "but she's their mother" stuff is BS. She'll still get to see our sons. I will make sure she does. But she has a long, uphill climb to earn my trust back. Then another commenter asked about his ex's job situation and divorce. She was a stay-at-home mom by choice. She had a college degree, ironically in criminal science. Our state is a 50-50 divorce state, so she still got half our assets in the divorce. And since both our names are on our house title, she'll get half of that if we sell it. I'm no lawyer, so I don't know what identity theft does to one's credit rating, but I imagine it doesn't help it. She's not completely destitute. If she is allowed to move closer to us, I will welcome that and continue to work with her so she can be in our sons' lives. Then another commenter asked about his mother. She was obviously very caught off guard. No one saw this coming. She had to go through so much BS to get her credit cleared up, get credit charges nullified, try to rebuild her credit. She wanted the book thrown at my ex and cussed out the prosecutor for offering a plea bargain. barely getting back on her feet. She's on a fixed income, so this really put a strain on her. I will probably have to step in at some point and help her. Yet another reason I want to take the new job and increased pay. In our state, her original charge was felony grand theft. That carries a 15 to 25-year prison sentence. She got a plea deal from the prosecutor that dropped it below felony level, mostly because it was her first offense. This is tough. The divorce and getting full custody? Fully deserved. Not the idiot on that account. Moving to another part of the country where she'll have no contact with them? I'm not so sold on this. I think that you're still in pain and resent her, and rightfully so. But I'm not sure this is the best you can do regarding your children's relationship with their mother. Does she have any possibility of getting a job, of moving? Or is she a financial mess as well, and what are her living conditions like now? Have you gone to therapy? Let me be clear. She did what she did, and she's been held accountable for it. You've got a right to move from a legal perspective, but moving, when you know she can't do the same, will massively screw her relationship with your children, and it will only lead to more anger, resentment, and pain. Edit based on further comments. Not the idiot on all accounts. As has been pointed out, he's got a financial responsibility over his kids now, as his ex isn't paying child support. All I suggest is that the relationship between mother and kids still be allowed as far as the law is involved/allowing, with FaceTime or whatever means are possible, because further isolation won't be healthy for the kids either. I don't know her full financial situation. I know she's working a couple part-time jobs and has a small 2BR apartment. Whether or not she could move, I don't know. She's under probation, so she'd need to apply to move anyway. My new job pays over twice what my previous did. It's a huge opportunity for me to provide a better life for my sons. I don't want to sit around here and wait for my ex to get her shoot together. I understand. If you're moving, and to me it sounds like you've already made up your mind, I know it would be painful or not very easy, but you've got to make an effort for your kids to have their mother in their life. I don't mean any form of financial assistance. I mean, make sure they can FaceTime or talk on the phone whenever they can, as long as it doesn't interrupt their school schedule, obviously. You don't have to sit around until she gets her shoot together. Just try not to add obstacles. I know many petty parents who would make it impossible to schedule calls or whatever. Not saying you're this kind of dad, just offering it as a suggestion to avoid a further strain. I do not intend on isolating my sons from their mother or preventing her from seeing them, but I also will not allow anything other than court-approved, supervised visits, fast time, and all that stuff. I will work with her to make sure she gets to talk with them, but there will be no weekends at mom's place until the court gives the okay. I'm not saying I believe she will try to run away with my kids, but I also never believed she would defraud my mother of $30. Can I ask something in my most non-accusatory tone? How did she get $30K worth of stuff as a stay-at-home mom and you didn't notice? She spent the majority of it on makeup and designer clothes. Info. How are you going to maintain your son's relationship with their mother? Does she pay child support? If you alienate them from her, they will resent you. She may eventually be able to go back to court with a parental alienation claim. I'm reserving judgment. I haven't put too much thought into that part yet, but I do not intend on completely isolating them from her. If she can figure out a way to see them, I will not prevent that. I imagine holidays will be something we need to figure out as well. But like I said, I do not intend on preventing her from seeing our sons. She's court-ordered to pay child support, but so far I haven't seen a dime and I haven't asked. You may need to think of it. If she is on probation, she may not be able to come to you, and frankly, I'm not sure she'll be able to afford to travel to you anyway, as she was a stay-at-home mom. I'm not saying that you aren't doing what's best for your kids, but I feel like you are just screwing your ex because you are hurt, angry, sad, all totally valid feelings about the situation, and using your sons in the process. So, I'm going with, everyone sucks here, except your sons. I will admit that part of me wants to move so that I can get a fresh start as well. The last year has been total hell for me. I'm trying not to use my kids as pawns here, but I know this job can offer us opportunities that my current job just can't match. I know they're very young, but have you talked to your kids about the move and asked how they feel? They are excited about moving to a new place and a new house, but they don't understand why their mom can't come with. Now, for the 1-month update, I got a lot of people asking for an update on this situation, and since a few things have changed, I figured I would go for it. I did end up taking the new job and moved with my sons. We have been settling into our new lives quite nicely over the last month, and things have been going really well. My sons love the new house, they have made friends with some other kids their age in the neighborhood. My job has been going really well, and I really couldn't have hoped for things to go better than they have. I got both of my sons into a great therapy program, and the 3 of us have also been doing counseling sessions together. My boys have been adjusting amazingly well, and I'm so happy and proud of how they've handled this. We've also made 2 trips back to see their mother, since she is still in the process of figuring out what she will be allowed to do in relation to her probation. We've also been doing many video calls a week with her. My sons still don't understand why their mom isn't here with us, but they do seem to grasp that this is going to be their new normal. In comparison with how well myself and my sons are adjusting, my ex is the complete opposite. She is still very angry with me and thinks I'm a complete a-hole. She's frustrated with the process of going through the courts to be allowed to move. She's frustrated that I'm not willing to drive our sons back to see her as often as she'd like. She feels she's being marginalized in their lives and that I am pulling them away from her. When she was complaining about all of this during our last visit, I reminded her that all of those things are consequences of her own actions, and she blew up at me by saying I am kicking her when she's already down, and I didn't need to take her sons away from her. I told her how well our sons are doing and how happy they are, and she should be proud of how strong and resilient they've been. She then started begging me to please move back so that she can be closer because she's not sure the courts will allow her to move, and the process is taking too long. I told her that wasn't going to happen, but if there is anything I can do with the court process, that I would be willing to help if I can. I reminded her that I haven't said anything about her not paying the court-ordered child support, but that our boys seem to be in a much better place already, and I'm not going to take that away from them. Every time we have a video call with her, as soon as she says goodbye to our sons, she starts asking me to consider moving back home. I tell her every time that it is not happening. I'm not a robot, and I do feel bad to see her so desperate and distraught. But when I look at my sons playing and laughing with their new friends, I know I've done the right thing, no matter the cost to my ex. Now for a few comments. How did she end up on the hook for paying child support given her status? It's a token amount based on her income. With my higher salary, I don't need her help to provide for our kids, but she hasn't made an effort to pay anything yet either. She's going to blame you when they take her tax refund, lol. She already blames me for a lot of things. We'll just add that one to the list. Just want to piggyback and say, if she's not making an effort to pay child support in any way, likely no court would give her partial custody anyways. She's not showing she can support kids in any minimal capacity. Also, my father raised my sister and I alone, but courts ruled for 50-50 custody because you can't separate kids from their mother. BS. Both moms and dads can be incapable of being a parent. Her fraud history and subsequent emotional breakdown, as it seems, definitely puts her in the category of not being responsible enough for custody's sake. Keep up the good work. You sound like a great father. You are dangling that fact in front of her by reminding her. Her fears are your problem if you are the one causing the fear. You are acting like a perfect angel that has saved your kids and your wife is evil. Have you ever stopped to consider that maybe she is just broken and needs help, not kicking her while she's down? I'm not saying what she did wasn't wrong, because of course it is, but you are keeping her down and hurting her. But you don't care because she is your ex. However, you seem to forget that she is also your kid's mom. If you looked outside your little bubble, look at the effects on your kids and your ex. The effects on my kids have been positive. They are laughing, playing with friends again, instead of being ostracized by people who punish them because of what their mother did. They are in therapy that we wouldn't have had access to previously. They are in childcare programs that are head and shoulders above what we had access to previously. My priority is my kids, not my ex-wife's feelings. Now for the 2-month update. I have full custody of my 2 sons that I have with my ex-wife. See my past posts for some backstory on our relationship and why I have full custody. Because I now live a few states away from where my wife lives, I always knew that this holiday season was going to be difficult. For Thanksgiving this year, I made the drive back to my wife's place so that she could spend the holiday with our sons. During this visit, I talked with her about plans for Xmas and told her that due to potential winter weather and the pandemic, I would prefer not to drive the kids to her again for Xmas. She did not like this and blew up on me about how I was isolating her from the kids. This was after I just drove hundreds of miles so that we could spend Thanksgiving together. I told her this was not up for debate and that we can plan for something in the spring once the weather warms up and the pandemic hopefully calms down a bit. I did, however, make sure to do a FaceTime call with her and the kids on Xmas Eve and told her that I would do the same thing on Xmas morning so that she could still see the kids open gifts that she sent to them. But when I went to call her on Xmas morning, she didn't answer. I tried back a couple of times, but she didn't answer, and the last time it went straight to voicemail. Then, around dinner time, the doorbell rang. It was my ex. Of course, the boys were excited to see her, but I had a serious WTF moment. For a second, I actually thought about not even letting her in the house, but my sons were so excited to show her all their new toys that I couldn't do it. After things calmed down a bit, I asked her what the hell she was doing. She said she couldn't handle a Xmas away from her kids, so she made the drive to see them. I told her it was messed up. She did this without telling me, but she said if she told me, then I would have told her not to come. I then asked her if she got the okay from her probation officer, and she said of course she did. She then asked if she could stay for the night since she didn't have a hotel, and I allowed her to sleep in my guest room. Before I went to sleep that night, I sent an email to her probation officer asking if she had really asked for permission to travel. Since it was Xmas weekend, I didn't hear back from them right away, and my ex left the next day to head back home. That Monday, I got an email from the probation officer thanking me for reaching out to them and asking for a little more information, which I provided. A couple days later, I get a call from my ex, and she's screaming at me and calling me a jerk for contacting her probation officer. Apparently, she hadn't told them or asked them, and now she could potentially land back in jail. She is accusing me of purposely trying to get her sent back to jail so that I can keep our kids away from her forever. That was never my intention, but I can kind of see why it looks like that to her. Does contacting her probation officer make me a jerk? Now for a few comments. Not the idiot. Her past posts show her true concern isn't the well-being of her kids. If she truly cared about her kids, she'd do things legally. But her first committing fraud and now breaking probation doesn't seem like she's a very good role model to her children. Not the idiot actions have consequences also. I've seen your last post, and I can't believe she can't admit what her action that caused the divorce was wrong. Not the idiot. I have been following your posts from the start, and as much as I have empathy for her as a mother, she has never taken personal responsibility for anything. She clearly, strongly believes in that it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Showing up at your house was way past the line, and you were incredibly kind to give her that night. Her leaving the state without her probation officer's permission is entirely on her, as is whatever consequences become of it. When asked how things are with his ex-wife and kids, OP replied, "Not sure how that is pertinent to anything here." When asked about his post history and the incident with his ex violating her parole, OP said, "And if I felt anyone on Reddit needed an update on my life, I would post an update. I really hope you are troll and this is not real. Because if you really reported you ex to probation because she loved them and wanted to see them on Christmas, well, you are missing a soul. Sadly, it is very real. But thank you for adding yourself to the list of people who think my ex should be dissolved of all her wrongdoing because she's a mother. Am I the idiot for asking my husband to cancel his bro's only trip right after our baby was born? This situation has caused a lot of tension between my husband and me, and now I'm questioning whether I'm being unreasonable. I, female 30, gave birth to our first child, Olivia, 2 months ago. Being a first-time mom has been both beautiful and overwhelming. My husband, Jake, 32M, was incredibly supportive during the pregnancy and promised that after Olivia was born, he would be there for me every step of the way, especially during those challenging first few months. Before Olivia was born, Jake and his friends had been planning a bros-only trip for this summer, a week-long vacation to a cabin in the mountains for hiking, fishing, and bonding. When the trip was being discussed, I reminded Jake that Olivia would only be a few months old, and we would be deep in the newborn phase. He reassured me that if things got too tough, he would cancel the trip to help me out, and I trusted him. Now that Olivia is here, things have been harder than I anticipated. Between the sleepless nights, breastfeeding struggles, and just trying to adjust to motherhood, I've been feeling overwhelmed. Jake has been helpful, but I can tell he's excited about this trip, which is coming up next month. Last week, I asked Jake if he could consider canceling the trip, reminding him of his promise. I told him that I'm struggling and that having him gone for a whole week would be really tough on me. He seemed surprised and a bit hurt that I was asking him to cancel. He said he's been looking forward to this trip for months and that he needs a break too. He also pointed out that his parents live nearby and could help if I needed support while he was away. I understand that Jake needs a break and wants to spend time with his friends, but I can't help feeling like this is a time when I really need him by my side. I tried to explain that while I appreciate his parents' help, it's not the same as having him here. Jake said that I'm being unfair by asking him to cancel the trip after all the planning that went into it, and that I need to trust him to make sure I'm supported even if he's not physically there. Now, we're at a bit of a standoff. Some of my friends think I should let him go, saying that it's important for him to have some time away, especially after all the stress of becoming a new dad. But others agree that it's too soon for him to take off for a week, and that he should prioritize being home with me and Olivia. So am I the idiot for asking my husband to cancel his bro's only trip to help me with our newborn after he promised he would? Hey everyone, I just wanted to give a quick update after reading through most of the replies. I was honestly overwhelmed by the amount of support and understanding I received. Thank you so much to everyone who took the time to respond. Your kind words and thoughtful advice really helped me feel less alone in this situation. A lot of you suggested that I should also take a week off, letting Jake stay with Olivia to get a break for myself. I really appreciate the sentiment behind that suggestion, but there are a couple of reasons why it's not realistic for me right now. First of all, I'm breastfeeding, so being away from Olivia for that long would be really difficult logistically. But beyond that, and this is something I know I need to work on, I just don't feel comfortable being away from my baby yet. I know it's not healthy to feel like I can't have her out of my sight, but I can't help it. I guess it's just that new mom anxiety that's really hard to shake. I've been debating whether or not to show Jake this thread. I'm worried that reading it might hurt his feelings, but I'm definitely going to have another conversation with him about everything. I'm willing to compromise and let him go on the trip, but I think a whole week is just too much. I'm leaning towards suggesting that he limit the trip to a maximum of 3 nights, so he can still have some time away with his friends, but not be gone for an entire week. I'll update again after we've talked. Thanks again for all the support, everyone. It really means a lot to me. Now for a few important comments. Fancy and Fab, you were uncomfortable for 9 months. You went through labor. You are now breastfeeding. What the PK does he need a break from? He was a giant AH when he even planned this trip. He was a bigger AH when he lied about canceling, and he's the giant gaping insanely awful AH now that he thinks it's unreasonable for you not to want him to be gone for an entire week when you're already overwhelmed. It doesn't seem like you'd want his parents to stay for that week while he's gone. This made me furious. I hope this is his only misstep, though I doubt it. Not the idiot Jasper Johns. Not the idiot. He needs her to trust him, like how she trusted him months before when he said he wouldn't go if she needed him. Yeah, that worked out so well in the trust department. OP. I am mad on your behalf. He needs a break too? Like the two is insinuating somehow that you got a break? When did that happen? Arj vote. Seriously, shouldn't she be getting a break first? This guy is lame AF. Let key 4168. That was my thought. When is her week away to unwind from the stress of becoming a new mother, plus carrying a human for 9 months, pushing said human out of her body, using her breasts to feed said human? And if you've never breastfeed, let me tell you, it hurts at first. When he does all of this, then maybe he could have a week until then. Man up and shut up Dryaduinath. Not the idiot. He agreed he would cancel it until he was actually held to his word. Planning a trip with his friends a few months after your due date was truly spectacularly poor judgment in the first place. He is a dad now. He's not your helper. He should be pulling his own weight, and he should know by now that this is a bad idea. No, his parents living nearby does not make up for it. And no, it is not reasonable for him to expect you to trust him to make sure you're supported even though he's not physically there. This is his baby. He should be physically there, not just supporting you, but taking care of his own child, who I must assume you are still recovering from carrying and giving birth to. You are not being unfair. He is being a liar? What do we call people who say they'll do something and then pitch a fit when you expect them to actually do it? Rhinley log 6415 female. Yeah, I'm shocked he planned this trip at all. Not the idiot judgment. Not the idiot. Now for the update. Hey everyone, I just wanted to share another update after having a very long and emotional talk with Jake. I won't get into every detail of our conversation, but I'll touch on the most important points. After putting Olivia to bed, I went straight to bed myself, feeling utterly exhausted. Jake was already asleep, but for some reason, the weight of everything just hit me all at once, and I started crying uncontrollably. My sobbing woke Jake up, and he immediately asked me what was wrong. I told him that I was just tired, but then I opened up about how anxious I'd been feeling about his trip and being left alone with Olivia. I admitted something I've been reluctant to say out loud, that Jake hasn't been as involved as I thought he would be. This was one of my biggest fears when we found out we were having a baby. For context, Jake has a rocky relationship with his own dad. I won't go into detail about why his dad isn't the best, but his mom, my mother-in-law, remarried when Jake was in middle school, and his dad wasn't very present in his life. Jake has expressed to me before that becoming a father was scary for him because he's afraid of being a bad one, just like his dad. When he first told me that, I thought it would make him into a great father because it showed how much he cared about being a good dad long before we were even pregnant. When I vented to him about all of this, at first, he tried to defend himself. He admitted that he's been freaking out about having a baby for so long and just didn't want to tell me. He said he didn't want to stress me out while I was pregnant because he knows how much I've always wanted to be a mother. Hearing him say that made me feel guilty, like I hadn't seen how much he's been struggling internally. I had tried to convince him that he was going to be a great dad when we had this conversation long ago, and now it all felt more complicated. I thought to myself, this can't go on much longer. I realized that if he was going to keep pulling away like this, I didn't know if I could handle it. So I asked him, is this what our life is going to look like from now on? Me with Olivia and you away? Because if it is, Jake, then I don't think I can continue on like this. Jake told me to calm down and assured me that he wasn't going anywhere. Then he got really emotional. He even started to tear up. He said he didn't want to turn into his dad, and that he hadn't realized that going on this trip could be a preliminary step toward becoming the absentee father he feared he might be. He apologized for not considering me and Olivia as much as he should have. Long story short, Jake called his friends and told them he wouldn't be able to make the trip. He's even started planning a little family getaway for the three of us next year when Olivia is a bit older. It was a tough conversation, but I feel like we're on the same page now, and I'm hopeful that things will get better from here. Thanks again to everyone for your support and advice. It's been an emotional roller coaster, but I'm grateful for this community helping me navigate it. Now for a few comments. Commenter Bloopy559 said, "That's awesome. You guy worked it out. No, for the first year, even thinking about going away for a week is inconsiderate. Yes, he might have had his struggles, but yours was way more mentally and physically for sure." Commenter Glitter Pantaloon said, "I'm so happy that you guys were able to communicate so openly and came to a resolution that worked for both of you. Wishing you all the best." Commenter It's Been Broughton said, "Read your updates. Sounds like he needed to come to grips with him psychologically, pulling away. I hope he is the dad your little girl deserves and the husband you need. And please share this with him. Being a girl dad is so fantastic. These rough early months with a chunky baby will soon turn into toothless smiles and an active toddler, and that soon after will be replaced by a jabbering little girl who looks at her daddy with love in a way you never knew. Enjoy the nights where she sleeps and snuggles you, where she is safe and yet you can't get a wink in. Because one day it will end and you will miss it. I've loved my journey, and I hope you do too."